Hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. And we're back. Yes. Welcome to the studio, people. We're back. It's the start of another week and we're here in the studio once more. So tell me, how do you feel? How are you? How was your weekend? Did you do anything interesting? Did you do anything exciting? Did you have a good time? Well, I can't hear you, but I hope you all had a great weekend. And what about the animals? Did Gusti dance all weekend? Did Margot the cat sleep and then doze and then have a cat nap and then catch up on her sleep? And what about Nigel, eh? How was Nigel's weekend? Did Nigel have fun? Did Nigel eat vegetables? Did Nigel crunch his way through kilos of carrots? And did Nigel spend a lot of time making that funny snorting sound? Like the sound a pig makes, grunting, but in a smaller fashion. Well, that's a lot of questions. And speaking of questions, do you all remember what we were learning last week? Yes, I know, of course you all remember what we were learning last week. Last week, we started looking at the past continuous tense, didn't we? And this week, we're also going to look at the past continuous tense. This week, we're going to concentrate on the difference between the past simple and the past continuous. And we're going to look at how we often use the past continuous tense to create a background when we're telling a story. We also use the past continuous and past simple tenses together when we're telling a story. And we use the two tenses together to highlight the differences between longer actions in the past and shorter actions, actions which interrupt the longer actions. But first, yes, that's right, we need to have a quick look at the two forms of the past continuous, the negative and the question form. So, hang on to your pants because here we go. Okay, so we all remember that it's a very simple task to make the past continuous, don't we? Do you all remember how we make the past continuous? Yes, that's right. We make the past continuous using the past simple form of the verb to be and then adding a verb with an ing ending. Okay, so who remembers the past simple form of the verb to be? It's an easy one, isn't it? Yes, that's right. The past simple form of the verb to be has got two, count them, two forms. I was, you were, he was, she was, it was, we were, you were, they were. So, that's the past simple form of the verb to be. We use was for the first person singular and the third person singular. That means if we're talking about I or he, she or it, then we know that we need to use was. I was, he was, she was and it was. If we're using any of the other subjects, the second person singular, for example, or any of the plural subjects, then we need to use were. You were, we were, you were, and they were. Simple. Okay, so we know that we need the past simple of the verb to be. And what else do we have to do? Correctamundo! We have to add ing to the end of the verb that we want to use, don't we? And when we add ing to the infinitive of the verb, we sometimes have to be a little bit careful with the spelling. If the verb ends in an E, then we have to remember to remove the E before we add ing. So, In the sentence, he was living in Alpustaser in 2013, we know that we remove the E from the end of the verb to live and then add ing. Now, what else do we have to be careful about? Yes, we have to be a bit careful with the endings of verbs. If the verb ends in 2 vowels and a consonant, or 2 consonants, or if the verb ends in a Y or a W, then we know that it's an easy situation because we don't have to double the last letter before we add ing. If the verb ends in vowel plus consonant, however, we have to remember to double the last letter before we add ing. Okay, now let's get back to where we were, talking about the negative and question form for the past continuous. Now, let's think about the negative form for a moment. What's the word we always see when we make the negative form of a verb in English? Not. That's right. We always use not to make the negative. Think about the present simple positive and negative. When we make sentences using verbs in the present simple, we have to be careful with one thing. We have to make sure that we add s to the regular verbs in the third person singular. I read, you read, he, she, it reads. We read, you read, they read. Now, if the verb ends in y, then we also have to pay attention, don't we? Yes, if the verb ends in vowel plus y, then we add s to the third person as normal. But if the verb ends in consonant plus y, then we change the y to ies for the third person singular. I play, you play, he, she, it plays. We play, you play, they play. I fly, you fly, he, she, it flies. We fly, you fly, they fly. Now, we also know that we have some irregular verbs, like the verb to go, which changes to goes in the third person singular. If a verb ends in ss or x or ch or sh or o, then we need to remember to add es, not s, to the third person singular. Okay, so that's the positive form. What about the negative? Well, who remembers? That's right. With the negative form of the present simple, we have to use another verb, an auxiliary verb. When we want to make the negative in the present simple, we use the auxiliary verb do, and we add the word not. So, this means we get 2 forms, do not and does not. We use do not, or the short abbreviated form, don't, for the subjects I, you, we, you and they. We use does not for the short abbreviated form doesn't for the third person singular, he, she and it. We take the negative form and then add the verb in the infinitive that we want to use. And remember, we add the verb in the infinitive. We made the subject change in the auxiliary verb, so we don't have to change anything for the third person singular with the main verb. I get up, I don't, do not get up. You like, you don't, do not like. He, she, it works. He, she, it doesn't, does not work. We cook, we don't, do not cook. You speak French, you don't, do not speak French. They wake up at 6:30, they don't, do not wake up at 6:30. He doesn't works at the weekend. He doesn't work at the weekend. All right, so we know how to make the negative of verbs in the present simple. All we have to do is work out what the subject is. I, you, he, she, it, we, you or they, and then pick the correct form of do or does plus not, don't or doesn't. Then we add the main verb in the infinitive. Simple. Now, if we want to make the negative form of the verb to be, then that's a little bit different, but it's just as easy. First, let's have a quick look at the positive form of the present simple, shall we? I am, you are, he is, she is, it is. We are, you are, they are. Okay, so that's easy enough, isn't it? All we have to watch out for is the first person singular, I, and the third person singular, he, she, and it. The others are all the same, are. Great. Now, let's think about how we make the negative form. Do you all remember? Well, for a start, which word are we going to use to make the negative? Any ideas? That's right, it's our old friend, the word not. To make the verb to be negative, we add not. I am not. You are not. He is not. She is not. It is not. We are not. You are not. They are not. Okay, all right, but what do we all prefer? Yes, we all prefer the short form, don't we? Yes, so let's see that in a table, shall we? I'm not. You're not, or you aren't. He's not, or he isn't. She's not, or she isn't. It's not, or it isn't. We're not, or we aren't. You're not, or you aren't. They're not, or they aren't. Fantastic! So, we can see once again that when we make the short negative form of the verb to be, for most of the subjects we have two possibilities. Either we add the auxiliary verb to the subject and abbreviate there, like with you plus are plus not, you're not, or we add not to the auxiliary verb, not to the subject, like with you plus are plus not, you aren't. So this means that we can choose two ways to make the short negative form of the verb to be with almost all the subjects, apart from which one? Yes, the only subject where we can't do this is the first person singular. With the first person singular, we can only ever say I'm not. With all the other subjects, we have a choice. But with the first person singular, with I, when we want to use the short or abbreviated negative version of the verb to be, we have to say I'm not. I'm not. I amn't. Great! Well, guess what? Yes, that's right. We've run out of time. Yes, I know, we've come to the end of our 15 minutes once again. So, well, I know that you know what's going to happen next. We'll go our separate ways for today. And then tomorrow, we'll pick up where we left off and we'll continue down the path we started on today. That's right. We'll continue looking over the tenses which we've already seen before, and we'll move on to looking at the past continuous in more detail. Does that sound okay? It does, doesn't it? Well then, my chickens of the forest, my gnus of the plain, my gibbons of the mountains, that's all we have for today. So, until tomorrow, let me wish you all a very pleasant afternoon. Enjoy yourselves, relax, and I'll see you all tomorrow. And if you need more English, you know where to go, don't you? That's right, www.m5tv.hu. That's the place to go to. That's where you'll find our old videos and the lists of the most important vocabulary. Okay, people, have fun. See you later. Bye.